Okay, so here is section 11.4. It's a pretty long section. Let me give some instructions. So 11.4, it's greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to kinds of questions. What are the steps? Number 1, get a 0. Step 2, make it one fraction. Common denominator. Common denom there. And then step 3, numerator equal to 0. Denom equal to 0. Solve, or each parenthesis equal to 0 and solve each set of parentheses. So you'll see what I mean as we go. And then step 4, put answers. Here, let's just do this. Answers on number line. Answers on number line. And plug in a number each section for positive or negative. Okay, so I'm not sure that all makes much sense at all. Let's give this section a try. So number 1 is x plus 3, x plus 1 greater than 0. Let me rewrite it over here. So number 1, x plus 3, x plus 1 greater than 0. Greater than 0. Okay, how do we do this? So step 1 says get a 0. Already got a 0. Already there. Step 2 says make it one fraction. We don't have fractions here. Step 3, numerator, denominator 0. We don't have that. Or each parenthesis equal to 0 and solve. So each parenthesis equals 0. Solve. So the first parenthesis, x plus 3 equals 0. Solve. X plus 1 equals 0 and solve. So I got to solve both of those. Okay, you know how to solve that. Just move the 3 over, move the 1 over. Negative 3, negative 1. Step 4, answers on the number line. Step 4, so that was each one equals 0 and solve. Step 4 is number line. So I'm going to go to the number line now, and I'm going to put those two numbers on the number line. What was that going to be? Negative 1 and negative 3, right? Negative 3 is left of negative 1. So what those are going to become is it's going to make the number line into 3 sections. And so what we do now, as it says here, plug a number in each section to find out if it's positive or negative. So I'm going to find a number in this section. What's a number in this section? Like 0. What's a number in this section? Like negative 2. And what's a number in this section? Like negative 4. So you pick a number in each section and you plug in, I should say, plug in number in each section. Plug in a number. Plug in a number in each section. Plug in number in each, sorry, I'm changing instructions a little bit here. In each section, write that a little bit better. Plug into version with the 0. Plug into the version with the 0. So here we go. I'm going to plug into x plus 3, x plus 1 greater than 0. Plug in. What do you get? Negative 4 plus 3 times negative 4 plus 1 greater than 0. What's that? Negative 1 times negative 3 greater than 0. That's positive 3 is greater than 0. That comes out to be a true section. That section is true. Yeah, let's just do it that way. Plug in a number into each section to find out if it's true or false. All right, so that's a true section. Plus 3 is greater than 0. Let's go to the middle section. Again, I'm plugging into x plus 3, x plus 1 greater than 0. Plug in negative 2. So you'll get negative 2 plus 3. Negative 2 plus 1 is greater than 0. That'd be positive 1 times negative 1. That's negative 1 is greater than 0. No, that's false. Negative 1 is not greater than 0. And then the next section, again, we're going to plug in to x plus 3, x plus 1, plug in the 0. What do you get? 0 plus 3. So plus and it's supposed to be greater than 0. That'd be 3 times 1 is greater than 0. 3 is greater than 0. Is that true? Is 3 greater than 0? Yeah, that is true. True. So the answer is the true sections. So this section and this section. By the way, it almost always switches back and forth, like true, false, true. So if you want, you could just find the first section, and you can almost know for sure it's just going to switch. Once you find one section, you know, like that's true, it's going to switch to false and back to true. It almost always, there's a couple really small exceptions, but almost always it'll just switch back and forth. So what are the true sections then? How do we say this section of numbers? So how do we say that section of numbers? Well, we say the left edge, right edge of this section. What's the left edge? Negative. Whoops, not writing very well there. The left edge of that section is negative. A little trouble here. Negative infinity. Right, because it goes left forever. So that arrow, left forever. And the right edge is negative 3. So this interval, here's my answer down here. This interval goes from negative infinity to negative 3. And, right, because it's the left edge, right edge of that section, united, that U just means unite, connect to. This section, what's this section? Left edge is minus 1, right edge is regular infinity. So from minus 1 to, a little trouble here. Infinity. From minus 1 to infinity. So that's the answer. We're saying all the numbers between negative infinity up to negative 3, and all the numbers from negative 1 on the left to positive infinity on the right. It's left edge, right edge, left edge, right edge. So this is the answer to the question. Let's try another one. Okay, number 2. So let's go through the same steps. First step, get a 0, and we're going to have to, step 2 is fractions. We don't have fractions. Step 3 is each parenthesis equals 0 and solve. So first I got to get parentheses. So I'm going to get parentheses here by factoring. Remember how to factor? We do the 2 parentheses, x is in the front. What multiplies to be 8 adds to be 6. So what 2, you can do the little diamond thing over here. what two numbers, multiply to be 8, add to be 6. What times what is 8? 2 and 4, both positive, right? Multiply to be 8, add to be 6. Plus 2 plus 4. Okay, we good there? And now each one equals 0 and solve. So even though it says greater than or equal to 0, we set each one equal to 0. We change to equals. Solve. Move that over. Move that over. -2, -4. Step 4. Number line. So we go to the number line. Going to put them on the number line. Going to put those two numbers on the number line. So here's -2. And here's -4. Breaks it into 3 sections. And what are we going to do? We're going to check each section. But let's make life easy. Let's just check one section. And then we know the others are going to switch back and forth. True, false, right? Number line, check. So I'm going to check. How about let's check where 0 is. Where's 0? 0's over here. So I'm just going to plug in 0 to the original equation. So I'm going to grab this original equation here. Bring it down here. X squared plus 6x plus 8 greater than or equal to 0. And I'm just going to plug in 0. I'm going to check 0. So what do you get? 0 squared plus 6 times 0 plus 8. That is 0 plus 0 plus 8 is greater than or equal to 0. So 8 is greater than or equal to 0. Is that true? Yeah, that's a true statement. That means this is a true section. And so remember, it switches back and forth, so this must be false and this must be true. You can check them if you want, but that's what it'll come out to be. So what's our answer? Our answer is always the true sections, right? So what are the true sections? This section and this section. Now how do we say? We go left edge, right edge. What's the left edge? Minus infinity. So we're going to go minus infinity to -4 united with left edge, right edge, the two true sections. -2 is the left edge. Infinity, positive regular infinity is the right edge. One small change though. When you have the solid bar down here, see how the last problem was just greater than 0. It wasn't greater than or equal. We didn't have an equals bar, but now we have greater than or equal. When you have that, when you have the bar, you got to make a bracket there and a bracket there. So the bar, greater than or equal, less than or equal, the bar leads to the bracket on the numbers right there and right there. Why? Because the bracket means you equal the number. You're right on the edge of that number. So that means it's right on the edge. So you're this bar right here means you're greater than or equal to 0, right? You can be equal, and the bracket means you can be right on the edge of that number. Whereas if you do a parenthesis, it just, if I was to write -4 parenthesis and -2 parenthesis, it just means you're close to -2. That you're around it, you're not right on it. It has to be right on it. Okay, so here we go on this one. Step 1, get a 0. We've already got it. Step 2 is fractions. We don't have fractions yet. Step 3, each parenthesis equals 0. Solve. So I take each of these separately, equal to 0, and solve. So if you bump it over, bump it over, bump it over, just changes signs, huh? +5, +2, +9. So now we go to the number line. We put them on the number line. So there's one of them at 2, one of them at 5, one of them at 9. So we have 4 sections this time. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to, on the number line, check. What am I going to check? I'm going to check x equals 0. So 0 is right here, it turns out, huh? So I'm going to check x equals 0. Check it where? In the original equation. So I'm going to grab this original, bring it down here. So that's x minus 5, x minus 2, x minus 9 greater than 0. Okay. Now plug in the 0. So plug in 0. So what do you get? You get minus 5. 0 minus 5, you know, is negative 5. Times negative 2 times negative 9 is greater than 0. So 2 times 5 is 10. That's 90. 3 negatives is negative. Negative 90 is greater than 0. Is negative? Are negative numbers greater than 0? No, that's false. So this is a false section. Remember what it does? It switches back and forth. So false, true, false, true. Okay, now what's the answer? The answer is the true sections, which would be this one. We want to know where it's true. That means all the numbers between 2 and 5 make this original statement true, and all the numbers from 9 and onward to infinity make it true. So what's my answer? It's from 2 to 5 united with 9 to infinity, right? So his left edge, right edge, left edge, right edge, 2 to 5, 9 to infinity. And notice there's no bar here. Back in the original, there's no bar. It's just greater than. So no bar, greater, no bracket. And so instead, right, I don't put a bracket there. I just put parentheses on all the numbers. So if the original has a bracket, if the original has a bar, like greater than or equal or less than or equal, then, you know, bar goes with bracket, BB, bar with bracket. If the original had a bar, if it can be equal, if it can be equal to the number right on the edge, then I would have to put a bracket to mean we're including the edge. But we're not including the edge. We're just saying this means all the numbers between 2 and 5, but not including the 5 right on, not including the 2 right on. Just very close to the 5, like 4.999, and very close to the 2, like 2.01 to not 5 to 4.999, you know. That's what it means. Not right on the 2, not right on the 5. Same thing here, not right on the 9, like 9.01, but not right on the 9, because the parenthesis means you're around the number. You're not straight on the number. The bracket, if you put bracket 9, then that's straight on the 9. It's got a straight edge to it. So you only do that when the original had an equals, like greater than or equal or less than or equal. Then you're right on. If you're equal, you're right on the number, which means you got to use brackets in the answer. We're using parentheses in the answer. No bar on the original question. There was no bar, so we have no brackets. Okay, so no. Step 1. Get a 0. For now, these are all have zeros. In a minute, we'll need to do that. Step 2 is fractions. We don't have them. Step 3, each parenthesis equals 0. So I can take x squared minus 36 equals 0, and I can take x squared minus 9 equals 0, and solve. Now, how do you solve an x squared equation? You got to move that over. You guys know how to do it. And then what do we do to turn that into regular x? We root it, huh? When you put a roof on the house, up and down the ladder. So I get plus or minus 6. Same thing here. Move that over, and we get x squared is 9. And then we've got to put a roof on the house, up and down the ladder. X is plus or minus 3. So now step 4, number line, and check. Usually check x is 0. So let's go to the number line now, and we're going to put a lot of things on the number line, aren't we? We got 4 numbers. We got negative 6, and then negative 3, and then positive 3, and then positive 6. See how we put them on in their actual order on the number line? And now I'm going to check. X is 0. It's usually what I check. So right here where 0 is, check x is 0. Right there, that's 0. And what am I going to check with the original equation? Grab the original, bring it down here. We have x squared minus 36 times x squared minus 9 greater than 0. So put in the 0. Boom, boom. You're going to get minus 36 times minus 9 greater than 0. 2 negatives is positive, whatever it is. I don't even know what is 9. I don't really even care, but I'll figure it out anyway with my calculator here. What is 9 times 36? I'm getting 324. So positive 324 is greater than 0. Is that true? Is positive 324 greater than 0? Yeah, that's true. Positive numbers are greater than 0. So this is a true section. Now remember, it switches back and forth. So this is a true section, and this is false, true, false, true, right? See, it switches back and forth. All right, so now what's the answer, overall answer to this problem? It's all the true sections. So that would be this section, the middle section, and the right section. All those true sections are the answer. Remember how we write the answer for each of those? It's left edge, comma, right edge. Left edge, right edge. Left edge, right edge. Left edge, right edge. So what's the left edge? Negative infinity, goes left forever. So we'd say negative infinity, negative. Now, are these going to all be parentheses, or are there some brackets here? No. Look back at the original. No. Oops. No bar. No bar, so no brackets, all parentheses. So it's all parentheses. United with, what's this next section? Negative 3 to positive 3, parenthesis. Negative 3 to positive 3. United with, we have another one, 6 to infinity, 6 to infinity. So 3 sections, that's our whole answer right there. Okay, so now we have our first fraction. So step 1, get a 0, we've got it. Step 2, make it one fraction. It already is one fraction. We already have a 0. We already have one fraction. In a little bit, we'll have like 2 fractions. We'll have to combine them into one fraction, but not for now. Step 3, numerator equal to 0, denominator equal to 0, and solve. Okay, so that's new. Take the numerator, say numerator u equals 0. And then take the denominator separately and say denominator u equals 0. Now that first one is garbage. 9 doesn't equal 0. Just forget about it. Doesn't even have an x. Let's solve this one though. Move it over. X is negative 6. So there we go. Now step 4, number line. So just like the other ones, now number line, check, x is 0. So I'm going to go to the number line now. And when I go to the number line this time, there's only one solution, right? This had no answers. I don't do anything with this. This didn't have an x. The numerator didn't have an x. So I couldn't solve it equal to 0. Just forget about it. The only answer is negative 6. So we just put negative 6 on our number line. That's the only answer we got when we set the numerator and denominator equal to 0. The numerator didn't have any answers, only the denominator did. Now I'm supposed to check x equals 0. Where's x equals 0? It's over here. It's right there. And where do you check it? The original equation. So let me grab that original equation. Bring it down here. 9 over x plus 6 greater than 0. Okay. Put in that 0 right there. So we get 9 over 0 plus 6 is greater than 0. 9 over 6 is greater than 0. That's a positive number. Is that greater than 0? Yeah, true. So that's true, which means that section's true, and the other section is false. So this is the true section. So what's our answer? Left edge, right edge. What's the right edge? Infinity. The answer is negative 6, comma, infinity. No brackets, because no bar, right? No bar. Right, there's no bar down here. It wasn't greater than or equal to. It was just greater. So no bracket, it's all parenthesis. There's the answer. The answer is negative 6 to infinity. All the numbers between negative 6 and infinity make this statement true. Okay, so here we go. Step 1. Get a 0. So this time I've got to do step 1. I've got to bring that over there. So that'll become 7 over x minus 1 minus 2 less than 0. So there's step number 1, get a 0. Step number 2, make it one fraction by the LCD, common denominator. I'm going to have to do that this time. Put this over 1. How do you get a common denominator there? Multiply top and bottom by x minus 1 to make those have the same denominator. So it becomes 7 over x minus 1 minus, and then let's do this. Let's just make it one fraction right now. Be easier. Minus 2 times x minus 1, right? There's minus 2 times x minus 1. They both have x minus 1 denominator, so you can just give it one denominator. And now we got to clean that up a little bit. Distribute that minus 2. 7 minus 2x plus 2. And then 7 and 2, 9 minus 2x. So there we go. I made it one fraction over there with the LCD. Do you see how I did that? I multiplied top and bottom by x minus 1 to make the two denominators the same. Then put the whole minus 2x minus 1 up here, distributed and gathered like terms. So now it's one fraction. Step 3. Numerator equal to 0. Denominator equal to 0. And solve. So I've got to take the numerator equal to 0, and then the denominator, which is x minus 1, equal to 0, and solve. So move that 9 over. Minus 2x is minus 9 divided by minus 2. X is positive 9 halves. Move that over. Positive 1. Got two answers. Positive 1, positive 9 halves. 9 halves you can divide in your calculator is 4.5, just so you know where that number's at. So now we've done 3 steps. What are we going to do now? Step 4, we're going to go to the number line, aren't we? So let's go to a next step. So I'm going to go to a number line on step 4. It's always the last step. And put these two answers, 1 and 4.5, on the number line. So here's 1, and here's 4.5, which is the same as 9 halves if they want a fraction answer. Okay, and what are we supposed to do? We're doing step 4 right now, which is number line. And we check, don't we? What do we check? X equals 0. So let's check x equals 0. Where's 0? Is it in the left or the middle or the right? Where's 0? It's over here, isn't it? Here's 0, left of 1. So check it. Check it with what? The original. So 7 over x minus 1 less than 2. 7 over x minus 1 less than 2. So 7 over x minus 1 less than 2. Let's put the 0 in there. We get 7 over 0 minus 1 less than 2. 7 over negative 1 is less than 2. That's negative 7. Negative 7 is less than 2. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. Negative 7 is less than 2. True, which means this is false, and this is back to true. The answer is always the true regions. So this region and this region. How do you say those two true regions? Have you seen how the answers always go true, false, true, or false, true, false? Now, how do you say this region? Remember, it's left edge, negative infinity, to right edge, 1. So negative infinity to 1, united with left edge to right edge is infinity. So 9 halves to infinity. Do we have any bars in the beginning? No. No bar. Right? There's no bar here. No bar. No brackets. It's all parenthesis. So there's our answer. There's the two sections. That means all the numbers from negative infinity up to 1 make the original statement true if you plug them in for x. And all the numbers from 4.5 or 9 halves up to infinity also make the statement true if you plug it in for x in this original statement here. If you plug in anything between 1 and 4.5, this statement will not be true. 7 over x minus 1 will not be less than 2. Anything else, anything in these regions will make it true. Okay, so let's go through step 1. Here on number 7, get a 0. So move this 1 over. And we get x plus 3 over x minus 2 minus 1. It's less than 0. Step 2, make it one fraction LCD, right? So you got to put this over 1, multiply top and bottom by x minus 2 to get a common denominator. And so then where does that leave us? That leaves us with x plus 3 minus 1 times x minus 2 over x minus 2 less than 0. So distribute that minus 1, x plus 3 minus x plus 2 over x minus 2 less than 0. And then combine like terms, x minus x cancels. 3 and 2 is 5 over x minus 2 less than 0. So we made it one fraction. So we got a 0, and we made it one fraction. Now step 3 is numerator equal to 0, denominator equal to 0, and solve. So the numerator would just be 5 equal to 0. There's no solution there. Denominator would be x minus 2 equals 0. We can solve that, move it over. X is 2. So x is 2 is the only answer as we go to the number line now. So last step is always number line. So you're going to need to remember on the next exam, any greater than or less than questions, you always go to the number line. So now I'm only going to put one answer on the number line, 2. And I'm going to check x equals 0 like usual. Now where is x equals 0? It's over here on the left. Left of 2. Check 0. What do you check with? The original. Grab the original, which is x plus 3 over x minus 2 less than 1. Put in the 0, put in the 0. So when you plug in zeros there, you just get 3 over negative 2 is less than 1. Divide that in your calculator, you get minus 1.5 is less than 1. Is that true? Yeah, that's true. Negative numbers are less than positive. That's true. So that means this is a true section. This must be a false section. So the true section is our answer, that section. How do we say it? Left edge, right edge, that's negative infinity to 2. It's there's the answer. It's all parentheses because there was no bar again in the original. So we have no brackets. It's all parentheses. There it is, negative infinity to 2. All the numbers between negative infinity and 2 plugged into the original will make it true. Okay, so we're trying to solve this one now. So step number 1 is to get a 0. So I'm going to have to jump this over. So to get a 0, so we're going to have x squared plus 4x, because the negative 4x jumps over becomes positive. We get a 0, step 1. Step 2 is fractions. We don't have fractions. Step 3, each parenthesis equals 0 and solve. Now I don't have parentheses, so how do I get parentheses? I'm going to have to factor. Factor. So factor, take out an x. That's how this one factors. So just take out the GCF, take out what's in common, take out an x, leaves x plus 4 greater than 0. And you take each parenthesis, it's actually each part, so the x alone will be 0, and then the x plus 4 will be 0. Each part equals 0 and solve. This one's done. This one, move the 4 over, negative 4. So we have two answers now. As we, step 4, go to the number line and check. Normally 0. Let me show you why this one will be a little different. So I'm going to go to the number line now. And on the number line, I'm going to put negative 4. That one comes first, even though we solved them in the different order. Negative 4 is left of 0 on the real number line. Okay. Now, the reason I cannot check 0, I normally check 0, don't I? 0 is actually one of my lines this time, so I can't check right on the line. I need to check somewhere in the sections, not right on the border, not right on the line. So check any other number you want. It doesn't really matter. We were just doing 0 because it was easy, but you can check any number you want. How about I check x equals like positive 1. 1's a nice easy number, which would be right over here, wouldn't it? Check x equals positive 1. So I'm going to do positive 1. Okay, what do I check? I check the original. Grab the original. Bring it on over here. X squared is greater than minus 4x. So take that 1, put it in. 1 squared is greater than minus 4 times 1. 1 is greater than minus 4. Is 1 bigger than minus 4? Yeah, that's true. So this is a true section, which means the next one is false, and this one's back to true. It's another true. We've had a lot of these, haven't we? True, false, true. So this is the true section, and so is this. 2 true sections. How do you say the answer? Left edge, right edge. So negative infinity, negative 4, united with left edge here is 0. Right edge is infinity. 0 to infinity. No bar, right? We had no bar here. There was no bar down there. It wasn't greater than or equal to. It was just greater. So no bar, no brackets, only parenthesis. There is our answer, which means all the numbers between negative infinity and negative 4 plugged in would make that statement true, and all the numbers between 0 and infinity plugged in would make that true. The only things that wouldn't make it true would be numbers between negative 4 and 0, like negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, or negative 1.5. All those numbers would make it false, so they are not part of the answer. There we go. Okay, number 10. Step 1, get a 0. Already got it. Step 2, make it 1 fraction. Already got that. That's nice. Don't have to mess with that. It's already 1 fraction. Step 3, numerator equals 0, denom equals 0, and solve. So I go, okay, numerator equal to 0, denominator equals 0, solve. So that's easy. Jump it over, jump it over. Positive 2, negative 5. Let's go to the number line. Put those on the number line. So negative 5, positive 2. Now, so number line, check. We usually check x equals 0 because it's just easy. It's an easy number to deal with. So where's 0? Happens to be right here in the middle of this one. Check x equals 0. We have these 3 sections. We're checking x equals 0, which happens to be the middle section. What are we going to check? We're going to check the original, this guy. Bring it on down. X minus 2 over x plus 5 greater than or equal to 0. So take that 0, put it in, put it in. What do you get? You get negative 2 over 5 is greater than or equal to 0. If you divide that in your calculator to get a decimal, you get negative 0.4 is greater than 0. Is that true? Are negative numbers greater than 0? No, that's false. That's false, which means the other 2 sections are true. So, again, we have the true, false, true. Seems like it's always true, false, true, almost. The 2 outside sections are the true ones. Let's give our answer. This is negative infinity to negative 5, and this one's 2 to infinity. Left edge, right edge, left edge, right edge. So the answer would be negative infinity to negative 5. United with, and then what's the other answer? It's 2 to infinity. 2 to infinity. So there's our answer. But we have 2 little tricks. Let me show you. First off, we had a bar here. Bar. So use brackets. But we can't use brackets everywhere. Never next to infinity. Never at infinity, because you can never be right on infinity. Do you understand? The bracket has a straight edge to it, which means you're straight on that number. It's your equal. That's why we connect it with equals. When you have the bar, when you're equal, you're straight on a number. So that's why the bracket is used whenever we have a bar, because a bar means equals, means you're right on the number. So I'm going to use the bracket, but you're never right on infinity. So I'm not going to put a bracket next to infinity. But I'm going to put a bracket next to this negative 5, and I'm going to put a bracket next to this 2. But I'm going to make one more change. And never. See, both the infinities still have parentheses, don't they? You're never straight on infinity. You're never right on infinity. You're never equal to infinity. Last really special, tricky thing. Denominator cannot be 0. I don't know if you remember. This is a really picky little thing. Honestly, I'm not going to put this on the test. The denominator cannot be 0. You can never have an answer. So what could you plug in? Let me erase some of this. What could you plug in right there that would make that whole denominator 0? -5, huh? -5 plus +5 would make that denominator 0. We can never make the denominator 0. So that means no bracket next to -5. So I got to go back to this -5 and go, nope, we can't actually have a bracket there because that would be straight on the -5. Instead, put a parenthesis. The 2 still gets a bracket because you can be right on the 2. That's no problem. But you can't have a bracket next to that -5 because that would make the denominator, you'd be straight on -5. The parenthesis just means you're around -5. You're close to it. You're like -5.01, but you're not right on -5. Why can't you be right on -5? Because right on -5 makes that denominator 0. You can never divide by 0 in math. So that's a trick. That one's pretty advanced. So one more time. The bar means we use the brackets next to the numbers, not the infinities. So I put a bracket next to 2 and -5 at first, but then I said, oh, but nothing that makes the denominator 0 can have a bracket next to it, because bracket would be straight on it, and you can't be straight on those numbers. So no bracket next to -5, then I changed it back again to a parenthesis. But the 2 keeps a bracket. There is our final answer. Pretty tricky. Okay, so step number 1, get a 0. We've already got it. Step number 2 is a fraction. We don't have a fraction. Step number 3, each parenthesis equals 0 and solve. Well, I don't have any parentheses, so I'm going to have to factor, aren't I? So how do you factor when something has 4 terms? Remember, 2 split? What's in common to the first 2? 16x squared. I don't know if you know, but 48 is divisible by 16. Leaves x plus 3. If you multiply that, it'd be 16x cubed. Multiply that, it'd be 48x squared. All right, what about the back 2? They have minus 25 in common. Leaves, again, x plus 3. That'd be minus 25x. That'd be minus 75. So now it's not all the way factored yet. One more step. These both have an x plus 3, don't they? Parentheses x plus 3. Remember how this works? Put it in the front, remove it, start a new set of parentheses, bring down 16x squared minus 25 greater than 0. So there we are. That's all factored. Now each parenthesis has to equal 0. So x plus 3 equals 0, and 16x squared minus 25 equals 0. And we have to solve each of them. So move that 3 over, -3. Now how do you solve this one? Move that minus 25 over, becomes 25, and then divide by the 16, and we get x squared is 25/16. And then remember what you do, you get the x squared alone, and you put the roof on the house, up and down the ladder. X is plus or minus 5/4, isn't it? So I've got -3 and plus or minus 5/4. I've got to put all those on the number line and then check the number line. So I wonder if I can just squeeze it in right here. So 5/4 is plus or minus 1.2. If you divide 5 divided by 4 in your calculator, it's 1.25. So we get -3, -1.25, or 5/4, and positive 1.25, or 5/4. So there's the 3 answers on the number line. Where am I checking? Where do I always check? X equals 0. Now where's 0? I've got 4 sections. Where, in fact, let me make sure you can see. I'm running out of room here. This one goes and goes. So 4 sections. I'm going to check 0. Where's 0? 0's in this section, isn't it? There's 0. So I'm going to check 0. Yeah, I'm kind of running out of room. Let's go to a new sheet. So over here, so here's -3, -1.25, which is -5/4, and positive 1.25, which is positive 5/4. Here's my 0. Check x equals 0. Check it with what? The original, that big old ugly thing. So I'm going to grab that. 16x cubed plus 48x squared. It's messy. 16x cubed plus 48x squared. It'll be easy with 0 though. Minus 25x minus 75. And what did it say? Greater than 0. And I'm going to take that 0, plug in 0, plug in 0, plug in 0. That's gone, gone, gone. And we just get minus, so there in the middle, we just get minus 75 greater than 0. Is that true or is that false? Is minus 75 bigger than 0, greater than 0? No, that's false. Negative numbers are not bigger than 0, they're less than 0. So that's false, which means this is true, true, false. So that's a little different. We got false, true, false, true. So what's the answer? It's the true sections, huh? So it would be this section and this section. Left edge, right edge, so it'd be negative 3 and negative 5/4 united with left edge, 5/4, comma, right edge is infinity there. Was there any bar on this one? Yeah, no bar in the beginning, no brackets. There's our answer. It's all parentheses. We're done. Okay, so on this one, we're going to set the numerator. Well, let's go through the steps. Step 1, get a 0. We've already got it. Step 2, make it one fraction. It already is. Step 3, numerator equal to 0. Denominator equal to 0. And solve. So we'll take the numerator, so that'd be x times x plus 7 equals 0, and then the denominator, x minus 7 times x plus 2 equals 0. And you said each part equal to 0, don't you? Each. It's like the x alone is 0, the x plus 7 is 0, right? Just like it says on the step, each part is 0. X minus 7 is 0. And x plus 2 is 0. So each part, including the x alone, so this one's already done. Move the 7 over there. Negative 7, move the minus 7 over there. Positive 7, move the plus 2 over there. Minus 2. So all of those go on to our number line. Let's do it. So which is the first one furthest left? Negative 7. Which is next? Negative 2. Next comes 0, and then positive 7. Okay, so we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So where are we going to check? I usually check x equals 0, but 0 is one of my lines. So number line, I can't check x equals 0, so I'm going to check 1. So when I can't check x equals 0, I check x equals 1. So there's 1. Where do I check it? What do I check it with? The original statement. So put in, so x times x plus 7 over x minus 7, x plus 2 greater than or equal to 0. Put in 1. So take that 1 and put in 1, 1, 1, 1. Kind of running out of room here. What am I going to get with that? I'm going to take it to the next screen. I'm going to get 1 times 1 plus 7 over 1 minus 7, 1 plus 2 is greater than or equal to 0. So I'm checking x is 1. So that's 1 times 8 over, what's that, minus 6 times 3. So that's 8 over minus 18. Divide that in your calculator. You get some kind of negative number. Is negative number greater than 0? No, that's false. Negative numbers are not greater than 0. They're less than 0. That's false. So that means, what does that mean? That means this is a big old false section. This is false, which means this is true, true, false, true. There we go. So what's the answer? The true sections. What are the true sections? Here, and here, and here. 3 true sections. Okay, now this is going to be a little tricky again. Remember, this has, look back up here for a minute, this thing has a bar. So brackets next to the numbers, right? But only parentheses next to denom answers, right? The answers that came out of the denominator that make the denominator 0, they have to have parentheses because you can't be right on those denominator answers because they make the denominator 0. Right here, see where we took the denominator over to here, solved it, got 7 and got -2. That right? Those came out of the denominator. 7 would make that part of the denominator 0. -2 would make that part of the denominator 0. So 7 and -2 must have only parentheses. So here we go. This is so the answer, it's kind of complex here. The answer is going to be -infinity, -7 parenthesis, united with -2 parenthesis to 0 bracket. See why the 0 now? Again, the -7 and it's a +7, huh? I'm totally messing up. It's only the +7 that has to have a parenthesis. So this, I'm totally messing up. This -7 can have a bracket. He will have a bracket. But the -2 must have a parenthesis because he's out of the denominator. United with the 0 has a bracket. United with, this is 7 to infinity. That 7 must have a parenthesis because see the 2 with the arrows? They're the denominator, right? Mixing this up. The 7 is right there, and the -2 right there. They have to have parenthesis because you can never be right on those numbers. You can't have brackets, which go right on those numbers because they make the denominator 0. But the other numbers get brackets because we did have a bar. Bar, bracket, BB, bar, go, bracket. So the -7, he has a bracket, and the 0, he has a bracket. And the infinities, they always get parentheses. So there's the answer. Pretty complex. Okay, so let's go through the steps. Step 1, get a 0. Already got it. Step 2, 1 fraction. Already got it. Step 3, numerator equals 0. Denominator equals 0, solve. So I'll grab the numerator, equals 0, and the denominator equal to 0, and we're going to solve. So let's solve. How do you solve this one? Now you got to get rid of that 2 power. So you go root. You can do plus or minus. Plus or minus square root of 0 is 0. And the root cancels the square, so x plus 2. Plus or minus 0, though, is just 0. It doesn't make any difference. Move the 2 over, -2. How about this one? Divide by 5. X is just 0, right? 0 over 5 is just 0. So now, let's go to the number line with those answers. So we have 0, and we have -2. Now, normally we check number line. We check x equals 0, but we can't check x equals 0 because that's one of our lines. Now, I want to mention, let's just check x equals 1. So x equals 1 would be a good place to check, right here. 1. Check x equals 1. When we check it, back in the original, so grab the original here. And bring it on down. So we're going to have x plus 2 squared over 5x greater than 0. I'm going to put in the 1 there and there. So we get 1 plus, that's just, I'm going to skip a step, it's just 1 plus 2. That's 3 squared over 5 times 1. Is that greater than 0? That's 9/5. Is that greater than 0? Yeah, it's a positive number. That's greater than 0. That's true. Now, normally we say true, and then we go false, and then we go true, right? Because it switches back and forth. This time, there's a trick. This is the only one. Honestly, I'm not going to give you one this hard on the test. This is the only one that doesn't switch back and forth. It actually goes true, false, false. These are both false. Why? Well, it's because of the square power. When you have a square power on something, it does a trick. So how would you know that? Well, you would just have to check them all. On the test, don't worry about it. I won't give you one that does the same thing twice in a row like this, so you can just do it the quick way. But here, I'll prove it. If we come over here and we check -1, for example, and we put -1 into the original. What was the original? X plus 2 squared over 5x greater than 0. If you put in the -1 there and there, you get -1 plus 1, 1 squared over 5 times -1 is greater than 0. That's -1/5 greater than 0. A negative number is not greater than 0. It's less. So that's false, which that's no surprise. We thought, the next one would be the opposite, false. But here's the surprise. If you check the last one over here, if you come over here and you go, okay, I'm going to check like -3. Let me get a different color here. Check like -3. It's actually going to be false also. So I'm going to plug it in to this thing here, this x plus 2 squared over 5x greater than 0. If you plug in the -3 there and there, you get -3 plus 2 is -1 squared over 5 times -3. Greater, that's -1/15 greater than 0. That's false. Negative numbers are not greater than 0. See how it's false again? So this is a weird one. It's a special one. Not going to make it that hard in the test. So the only true section is right here, actually. How do you say that? From 0 to infinity. So from 0 to infinity, there's our answer. 0, no bar, so no brackets, all parentheses. 0 to infinity.